Do you want to ruin your mix instantly? Well, just crank up the stereo width. Trust me, it works wonders. Guys, let me tell you something. You are using the stereo width way too much. Matter of fact, it's useless. Like, completely useless. And in this video, I'm going to prove this. Let's get to the point. So, why stereo is completely useless? If you are treating core elements. So, for example, if you are treating lead vocals, kicks, snares, or the bass, it's completely useless. It's going to hurt your mix, because these are the instruments which make the backbone of your track, and they cannot fall apart in mono. You have to treat them carefully because they are so important that you cannot miss them in mono. You cannot miss the snare, the kick, the bass, or the lead vocals, okay? These are instruments which play a core element in your mix. While stereo is completely useless also if you have an empty mix. Guys, I have done this mistake myself, trust me. I know it's cool to have a completely stereo sound which sounds full in your headphones, but guys, when you hear it in mono, it's so messed up, okay? So we shouldn't go for stereo widening if we have an empty mix. We should make it full by using other audio effects, okay? For example, we can go for the classic reverb or delay, but more interestingly, we can go for doubles. So we can play the melody an octave above, for example, or we can also use a counter melody to make things interesting. Or again, if you really want to have that stereo presence, you can hard pan your instruments to the right or to the left. So you are not picking an instrument and dividing it into right and left. That creates phasing issues. But you are picking two instruments, two separate instruments, and move one to the right and one to the left. And that's a lot better because they will have different frequencies, different sound characteristics, and in general there will be less phasing issues. And wide stereo is also useless if you have a mono sound. Many of you may already know this, but basically what stereo widening does is to take your sound and boost only the components which are different in your right and your left ear, okay? So if your sound is mono and you crank up stereo widening to the maximum, you will hear no difference. Basically, the plugin doesn't work, okay? It will sound completely mono again, because a mono sound, for definition, is mono. So it doesn't have differences between the right ear and the left ear, okay? So in 95% of the cases, stereo widening is useless. Useless, okay? Banned. But there's a 5%, okay? In that 5%, we can use this, okay? When is the wide stereo actually useful? Well, if you're using it sparingly, okay? You cannot use stereo widening on every single track of your DAW. If you make everything wide, then nothing is, okay? And, of course, the mono track will be completely messed up, okay? So you have to use this sparingly, okay? First rule. Second rule, you have to apply it only to frequencies above 2 kHz, okay? You can also use this around 1 kHz, but the majority of the times you want to use this for the higher frequencies, okay? That's because we want a solid foundation on the low frequencies, and we can play a little bit more on the higher frequencies. Also, because of the structure of the human ear, the low frequencies generally become more confused if you use wide stereo, okay? While the higher frequencies do not have this problem, so you want to keep this effect for higher frequencies. Otherwise, everything is going to be confused and messed up. Third condition to use the stereo widening is use it on ambient sounds, okay? You don't want to use this on sounds that are very present, okay? You want to use this on something that is there to enrich the track, but not on your main instruments. So for example, you could use this on a pad that is on the background, maybe, or on a counter melody that is on top, maybe some octaves above, or for example on a audio effect that you put there to spice the track a little bit and you want it to be a little more present in the stereo, but it doesn't really matter if it doesn't sound as loud in mono. So this is what I think about stereo widening, and well, like I told you, I believe that there are better ways to enrich your track and to make it fuller. If you want an alternative solution to enrich your mixes, you can check out this video on reverb, in which I break down some parameters that you are not using and you should really be using instead. Thank you and see you on the next one.